In a sea of questionable decisions, have Chelsea made a couple of good ones, or should I say 3 good decisions, in selling Mason Mount and Kai Havertz and buying young Cole Palmer, who's looking pretty darn spectacular in the Chelsea attack at the moment. I know perhaps his peers up top aren't performing that well, making him maybe look a little bit better, but the truth is Cole Palmer has been excellent for Chelsea, a breath of fresh air, something exciting. 2 attacking midfielders in Mason Mount and Kai Havertz have gone and been sold to Arsenal and Manchester United respectively, and respectfully. And both of them are underperforming and underwhelming massively. Now, disclaimer, this is not a hit piece on either of those players. They are both incredibly talented players who I have waxed lyrical historically and previously. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, those players individually. And talk about Cole Palmer. Look, thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to support the content, you are welcome to by liking and subscribing. I would urge you guys to make sure you turn on the bell notifications icon if you are new subs, or indeed just people who are already subscribed, just to make sure you get notified. Right, so I want to talk about Cole Palmer. I'll save it for a little bit, but let's start off with the players that Chelsea sold in Havertz and Mount. They both, in their own way, caused controversy. Chelsea got good money for both of them. They got 65, rising to 68 million pounds for Kai Havertz, which is a lot of money considering there were no other takers for him. There was no bidding war. I've said it before, Chelsea's remaining book value to sort of break even in FFP for Kai Havertz was about 25 million pounds. So when they got an offer of 65 raising to 68 million pounds for Havertz, they were rubbing their hands together. Of course, he went off to Arsenal. Now, Kai Havertz is very talented. He's won the Champions League. He scored in the final of the Champions League. He was courted by Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, and is a uniquely gifted player, but very, very difficult to figure out. Of course, Frank Lampard played him as an attacking 8, kind of what Mikel Arteta has been trying to do. He played as a number 9, he's played as a sort of number 10, he's played out wide. No one's really figured out Kai Havertz. I think since leaving Bayer Leverkusen, the best football he's played is, apart from fleeting moments at Chelsea, it's probably when Hansi Flick moved him as a second striker in the German national team. Of course, Flick's now gone. But he put in some very, very good performances for Germany in that, position. He was like the best player against England when they lost, when England played Germany in, was it the World Cup? Was it the Euros? I can't remember. Anyway, that's where he plays well. Now, Kai Havertz, he was a massive earner at Chelsea. The new ownership are trying to bring down the wages substantially. Of course, they paid 61 million pounds for Mudryk. That could go up to 88 if Chelsea win Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues. Kyle Mudryk is on 96k a week. Now, Kai Havertz was on like 200 to between 200 and 300k a week at Chelsea. He'll be on something very, very similar at Arsenal. Massive wages indeed. And Chelsea will look at what Kai Havertz was bringing to Chelsea in terms of productivity and how much his wages were, and they will be absolutely laughing in terms of the new Chelsea model, the lower wages, the lower book value, amortized fees, all that kind of stuff. They'll look at Kai Havertz and go, wow, we've just taken our, since Lukaku's of course lowered his wages, he would have been our second highest earner behind Raheem Sterling. They've just absolved themselves of those wages and brought 65 million pounds to the books, which is absolutely incredible for a player that Chelsea will evaluate that essentially they still hadn't worked out. They weren't going to play. They didn't want to play him as a striker. He will not play in a midfield free setting for Chelsea. You could argue, in theory, that in a 4-2-3-1 he could play as that number 10 for Pochettino. When Pochettino was first announced, we were assuming he was going to play that same kind of system that he did with Tottenham in the Premier League, and then you could think, in that case, I'll tell you what, should that be the approach, then Kai Havertz could play in the sort of Dele Alli second striker role behind Kane when he scored all those goals. But the times, they are a-changing, and the landscape of the Premier League and what works has also changed as well. I'm not sure, that's the same, can bring the same success. Point being, he's too much of a difficult player to figure out. He costs so much in wages and fees. So to bring in 65, rising to 68 million, and absolving yourself of biblical levels of wages for a player that you feel like you could easily replace in terms of profile, Ka-ching, massive, in hindsight, positive move. Now, again, not hit piece on Kai Havertz. I think he's very gifted. I think he's unique. I like the way he ghosts in. He's very two-footed when in confidence. But a quick, we'll talk a little bit about him at Arsenal because, again, he started the game where they got eliminated from the Cup yesterday. He's got 1 goal for Arsenal, and I believe that was a pity penalty from Martin Ødegaard. And I don't know, I feel kind of bad, but it's difficult to feel bad for a player that, ultimately gets paid loads of money. I have absolutely no ill will towards Kai Havertz. I don't think he was this, proper Chelsea. I understand how Mason Mount, who we'll get on to in a little minute, is harder to digest, but Kai Havertz, he came to Chelsea for an opportunity. He never pretended to be anything other than a mercenary. Originally, why Eden Hazard came to Chelsea. Now, Hazard learned to love Chelsea, as he was one of their best performers. He got the banner and Chelsea fans loved him. But Kai Havertz never had any of that. He got a song, but he was there for a couple of years. Fine. He would have been very pleased he went to Chelsea. Chelsea ultimately would have been very pleased he came to join them. Mutually agree, shake hands after 2 years, thank you very much. Chelsea would look at the investment and the return and be very happy. And in a way, now it's Arsenal's problem to sort out, and I don't mean that in an overly derogatory fashion to Kai. I think he's a great player, and if Mikel Arteta can figure him out, he's got a great player there. But they are in danger of carrying this expensive asset that, quite frankly, just isn't a starter for them at the moment, which is pretty darn mental. We're going to end on Cole Palmer because that's kind of like the new dawn. So with Mason Mount as well, of course, he wasn't on the Kai Havertz wages. He wanted the Kai Havertz wages, by all accounts, the stories would dictate. He was still on the contract that Frank Lampard gave him when he brought him into Chelsea after he was being on loan at Derby. So very low wages indeed, like 60k a week. And understandably, for what Mason Mount gave to Chelsea in terms of productivity, not least in that aforementioned Champions League winning run, scoring against Real Madrid, assisting the winner in the final. The years he spent at Chelsea, he lost out in terms of importance and productivity, and being an important Chelsea first teamer and a Champions League winning team. To get paid as little as that is really unfortunate. I feel like he missed out on millions of pounds in terms of what he could have been paid. But that's not the point. The point is, he was going to sign a new contract. He was going to get big money. And I do have some sympathy for Mason because he will look at his peers. Look at Raheem Sterling, England teammate, who Chelsea gave a massive contract to. He'll look at players he meets up with England, who, by the way, I think he's at great risk of losing his England space. Now he's gone to United. But like Jack Grealish, 350k a week. Bukayo Saka, 300k a week. Declan Rice is probably on massive money at Arsenal. He looked at his peers and thought, Chelsea have just probably, I think they've turned to him and offered him at the end because they removed the big salary offer. And then they went to like the Mudryk level, I think. So like 90k a week because they're like, boy, this is our new structure now. This is where we're at. So I think he kind of thought, all right, I'll go and get what Manchester United pay me in 250k a week. I know it's 90k a week. And again, I'm pulling that theoretical figure out of the ether. I'm not saying that was the offer. I know we'd all like gasp at that. But the truth is, you're young, you've got opportunity. And when you earn more money, you want more money. And Man United are the biggest club in England. And it's not like he was going to Tottenham and Spurs. But he needs to understand that, just because he didn't go to Arsenal or Liverpool, yes, United aren't as big as rivals, but you're still defecting to the enemy. Kai Havertz, he doesn't feel like that because, like I said, he was a mercenary brought in. And, in the same way, Kovacic, go to Man City, Kai, go to... But with Mount, it was more difficult because it was like... You had the banner, the boy that dreamed, and you should have been sort of saying, well, some sentimental fans were thinking things like, Conor Gallagher coming out saying, I'll play for Chelsea for free. Obviously, that's just a bit of a PR exercise. But, after you were the one, you were like the chosen one to be like, actually, I was going to get the money at, Manchester United. Fine, totally fine. But you need to understand that, that's why you've got there's already got two chants about the twat from Portsmouth. It's gonna happen. It's not just, it's south going up to north. It's blue going to red, and everyone hates Man United. It's still Man United. It's still Chelsea do not like Man United. So you have to accept what you've taken there. And in terms of the player profile as well, like Havertz, he's an excellent player. Mount will be easier to utilise because he is hardworking. He's probably quite good at retaining tactical information. You know, managers do love him. It's an absolute crap show at Manchester United at the moment. I think, I've got a gut feeling Ten Hag will be sacked. And if he is, Mount might become a starter, Jadon Sancho might become a starter, and the team might be refreshed. I reckon he's probably banking on, a few players are probably banking on that now. But yeah, it never made sense to me. For a 4-2-3-1 formation, like they play like we were going to play, ironically, we're playing a 4-3-3 now, which would suit Mason Mount more to play in either the Gallagher or Fernandes role, either side of Caicedo. That would probably suit him. But when we're playing a 4-2-3-1, it wouldn't have suited us, just like it's not suiting him at Man United under Ten Hag. The point being, like Kai Havertz, Chelsea would have evaluated Mason Mount, what he does on the pitch, his player profile, and think, right, he wants this amount of money. We can get what he is providing on the pitch through Cesare Casadei when he returns next year for a fraction of the price in terms of salary. And Casadei will offer more aerial threat, or Andre Santos in the midfield, or Carney Chukwuemeka. And of course, in terms of functional midfielders, you've got like Ugochukwu, Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo to a degree. Like, they feel like they got so much quality in the midfield that offers all these different profiles that are much lesser wages. And they'll look at that and they go, And a big thing, you cannot look past £60 million pure profit. Everyone thinks Chelsea are mental for spending loads of money. And maybe we are, by the way. Maybe we are. But at the same time, everyone's like, if you spend £100 million on Enzo Fernandez, right, and you amortize his fee, his contract, in the end it was 9.5 years, which is mad, by the way, because he would sign an 8.5-year deal and they triggered an extension. So let's just say 10 years for the sake of it. 10 years, 100 million, that's £10 million a year. That on the books, £10 million a year. Just selling Mason Mount, who's a player that might not start, that's £60 million pure profit in 1 year. Bang, no outlay, pure profit. That immediately does mental stuff to the books. People forget that. Lewis Hall for nearly 32 million. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, all pure profit sales. It's massively alluring. And in this time when people are, whinging, how can Chelsea do it? It's because they're having these massive cash injections. And that's why Trevor Chalobah will probably get sold. Maybe Maatsen, pure profit. And that's why when people were sniffing around Conor Gallagher, like Tottenham, they were thinking, more Mason Mount level pure profit money. But it looks like Conor Gallagher is a really, really important player for Pochettino. So yeah, look, I wanted to talk about that. I feel like in hindsight, it's probably a really good move, especially if Pochettino's got these other ideas of other tactics. And I want to say as well, before I talk about Cole Palmer, I don't think Mason Mount's current situation and Kai Havertz's current situation is terminal at their respective clubs. I worry more for Kai Havertz, even though he's playing in the better settled team. I just don't think he suits. I think Mason Mount, I think a new manager will come in eventually, and I think they'll just look at Mason Mount as this model professional who can play in different positions and, score the odd goal and play in the midfield. I think he'll get a crack. Which brings me on, so in this 130 odd million Chelsea have made in selling those two players, and then, they've brought in a £40 million player in Cole Palmer. He's a player they need so much more. He's homegrown, so it ticks the box after losing a few of them. A right-sided, left-footed player that can play as an attacking midfielder, but has got that confidence in the spaces to just play those balls that neither of those other guys have got of late. Havertz, every now and again, in moments of confidence, would do beautiful finishes. Mason Mount can be a very effective functional player. But the way you see Cole Palmer operating between the lines at the moment, dribbling deeper playmaking passes. Yesterday in my complete breakdown, the reaction to Chelsea's 2-0 win over Blackburn Rovers. And yes, I will acknowledge the fact now how I got the title wrong and said it was the scoreline the other way around. I was very tired. I'm kind of run down. You can see I've got like spots and stuff at the moment. I think I've just been eating crap and being run down, so I get a few things wrong. Anyway, point being is I've analysed the fact how Cole Palmer makes a lot of these forward creative passes. He's like in the top 5 for progressive passes in the Premier League. Enzo is as well. I believe Enzo's top or second, which is really, reflects poorly on our strikers and finishers. But yeah, he makes loads of these progressive passes where players should be. Like if he was playing for a Man City team, they'd be, but Chelsea aren't quite there yet. Really impressive, a breath of fresh air, really exciting. I was super gassed on the signing of Cole Palmer. And since he's been playing, he's just done nothing to disprove or give me a reason not to be gassed. He will get better. He's sort of growing into this role of being a first-team player. And not just a first-team player, because he'll always be looked at as just a kid who comes in and out of this City team. But now he's given the keys and like, yeah, you can be that guy at Chelsea. You can be the boy. You can be 21 years old and be, you know, it's multiple European Cup winning team of the biggest club in London, I'll tell you, European pedigree. You can be the guy up front. Bang, what an upgrade for your ego, but he stepped into the role massively. That's something Mason Mount's different. That's something Kai Havertz can't do. He can't wear that. Yeah, like, I'm the guy. I'm going to start like taking control of this attack. You don't see it. Even when he played well for us, Chelsea, he had these like moments when you go, ooh, like he'd glide like Kaká for a moment, or he'd finish like, you know, Bergkamp or something, and you go, these little moments of Havertz, but they're just fleeting moments in a sea of uncertainty and dysfunction. Oh, that sounded good. Whereas Cole Palmer just looks like, yeah, I'm integrated, I'm good to go, and I can be the guy. So yeah, I was laying on my sofa thinking about these three players and I wanted to make a video about it, and here I am. This is what I do on the channel, so if you want more, you're welcome to subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you for supporting the content by liking, commenting and sharing, and hopefully see you guys back here very, very soon. So thanks for joining me. Peace.